You guys have probably heard a lot about AI. Anybody hear about AI out there? Anybody? Anybody? Come on, come on, come on. Give it to me. All right. AI times crypto, a lot of buzz around that. But I think this next talk's gonna be cool because we're gonna hear some actual like concrete use cases, specifically in the realm of security. So this is gonna be fun once it's set up. Meanwhile, I'm gonna talk about some cool stuff that's going on today. On the main stage, there's lots of great sessions. Check them out. Later in the day, we're going to hear about the rise of the Bitcoin layer with a star-studded panel of various Bitcoin L2 builders. So that one should be fun. Should also have an opportunity for Q&A on that one if you have interesting questions about some of the design choices around building various Bitcoin L2s. But you here are on the silent disco stage, the tech stage. Thanks for having your headsets on. This allows us to jointly program this fine event where we can go deep on technical topics while also unpacking some thought leadership on that stage over there. So let's get this going, shall we? Let's please welcome Kyle from the Dfinity Foundation onto the stage. He's going to talk about AI and Bitcoin, specifically around security and use cases. Let's have a big warm welcome as he makes his way right now. Thanks, Kyle.
That's not a great sign when Zach says who here's into AI and we get like 2 hands up. Maybe I'm on the wrong topic, but anyways, we're gonna go with it. I appreciate everyone letting me come up here and talk. I'm gonna speak about AI and Bitcoin, although it's gonna be more general about blockchain in general. And specifically, I wanna do 2 things. I want to, first of all, convince you that AI and blockchain are on an inevitable collision course, and that these 2 technologies are going to converge. And then second, I want to propose a solution for how to scale AI on blockchain with a correct balance between security and scalability. So let me first get started with, okay, here we go. So one of the first things I want to say is I'm extremely surprised when I talk to people about blockchain and AI. There's a whole lot of skepticism. A lot of accusations that it's basically just 2 buzzwords that you're combining together. And so what I want to do first is convince you that actually there's way too much value for blockchain to provide AI, that for it to go ignored, that these 2 technologies are going to converge. And I want to do it in the most nostalgic way I could. So I have here from the Wayback Machine, eBay circa 1999. And the reason why I am showing this is because if you go way back, if you're old enough like myself, you have enough gray hair, that you remember the early days of the internet, you'll probably remember that eBay, when it was called Auction Web, the majority of the transactions settled in person. So you'd have an online auction, and then people would actually meet up in real life and do the final transaction. And the reason for that is because the financial rails on the internet were extremely primitive. It was often thought that if you put your credit card into a website, you were just going to drain your bank account, and it was not what you could do. So what happened though is the market spoke. The market wanted the ability to do global auctions, and so the market found a way to get over that consumer hurdle. PayPal launched a way to kind of abstract away bank account transactions. Credit card companies started focusing on fraud protection, and that really is the kind of a parallel to what we're seeing with AI and blockchain, where if you're skeptical now, what's going to happen is, and I'm going to show you in the next slide, that there's just way too many ways in which blockchain is going to bring value to AI for the market to not react and for us to not solve these problems. When I was preparing for the talk, I'll just point out a little Easter egg on this. If you look down under categories near the bottom, it says toys and beanies. I just want to call attention to that because there was a time in eBay's history where Beanie Babies were so critical to its success that they got equal billing with the entire toys category. And if you don't see the parallels between that and maybe meme coins, I don't know, I'll just say there's nothing new under the sun, I guess. All right, so let's talk about some use cases. These are just, some of these are actually already being developed, and some of these are more still a little bit young. But I just want to give you an idea of just how much value there is for blockchain to bring to AI. So first one, payment. It's pretty clear. If you've ever used an LLM, like for example, I used Gemini a couple months ago to plan out a vacation with my wife. She had various requirements. I had my own requirements. We wanted to figure out from our airport and a specific airline that we wanted to use Gemini to basically put all that information out, and it did a phenomenal job of saying, hey, maybe there's some places you want to visit. Once we picked on a country or a city we wanted to visit, it then said, hey, here's some hotels that you want to check out based on your requirements for beach and hiking and whatever it was. And it's not hard to imagine that maybe the next thing I would want to do from there is actually just complete the flight purchase, the hotel booking from the LLM. Now that's a case in which an AI LLM would complete a payment for the user. And honestly, that case is probably okay to do in credit card. But if you imagine a situation which, so like human to AI is probably fine to do on credit card, but if AI to AI payments, for example, two self-driving cars, one wants to have priority because the rider is in a hurry. Maybe they want to facilitate a quick, small transaction coming up to an intersection where one car gets priority over the other. You could have just, as your home becomes inundated with AI agents that are managing, your temperature, whatever it is, that you can imagine small micropayments between AI agents. And in those cases, it absolutely is going to fall to blockchain. AI applications are going to want to prioritize things like instant finality or near instant finality. They're going to want to prioritize cheaper transaction costs. So just at the simple level, payments is going to be a huge area for the intersection between AI and blockchain. Inscriptions, I think, is another way to think about it. So you have AI that is capable of generating novel information. I like to think of Bitcoin as a database, and as a database, it's the database that's going to outlive every other database that exists today. So if you have an AI, if you're a developer building an AI application and you want to, whatever that application is, wants to record information for the prosperity of time, the best way to do that is through Bitcoin inscriptions. And so you can imagine a whole bunch of use cases that may come out of that. I'll talk about DAOs. If you're a member of a DAO, you probably recognize that humans, in terms of the bottom-up governance, humans are pretty good at aligning strategically, really bad, I would say, at the execution part. I would anticipate that DAOs actually become more efficient by leveraging AI agents that actually execute the strategies for a DAO. And that those AIs will have to facilitate, Bitcoin payments in order for their execution. You can imagine automated swaps, so having an AI agent that is actually just moving liquidity back and forth. In that case, it's going to have to be able to sign transactions on two different blockchains. Record retention, data compliance, and integrity. So if you're in a regulated environment, data integrity is a massive concern for you. Being able to show authorship of a record is a very challenging thing to do actually in a secure manner in a Web 2 world. For AI to actually have any kind of adoption within a regulated environment, you're going to have some sort of remove the trust assumptions associated with assigning authorship. And an immutable ledger combined with a private public key is such a phenomenal solution to data integrity. Code testing, I don't know. I would assume it's going to be a foregone conclusion that you're going to want to have AI agents that actually audit DeFi applications, take that away from the humans, and then find security vulnerabilities. In that case, you're probably going to want that AI to be able to do some boundary testing by actually executing payments. And then finally, transparency. So this is actually probably the area where I think is probably the least understood. AI has a massive trust issue right now, right? So there's at the beginning of this year, there's a Stanford University report that reported 50% of consumers are concerned over the adoption of AI, that they don't trust the products. These are consumers, so as a AI developer, you probably need to be fully aware of that this is like a market that has a natural concern over your product. Blockchain, if you can do AI development and deployment on blockchain, the natural transparency of blockchain brings you basically transparency into what data was used in the training model. It can bring some transparency into the algorithm used in your training model. It can provide some verifications that the inference engine you're talking to is the one you expect it to be. Maybe some verification on the prompt input and output wasn't tampered with. these are areas in which I think blockchain in general, Bitcoin in specific, are going to play a pretty big role in AI development. I know I was talking with Louis, the CEO of Omnity, last night. He brought up a really great use case as well of just they launched today a social engagement AI tool for token distribution. And so it's this, there is a huge ocean of opportunity where when blockchain and AI intersect. And I think just in terms of like the consumer products and B2B products that can be built with it are going to basically drive the adoption of AI on top of blockchain. So hopefully I've convinced you that this is not just buzzwords, that this is actually the direction that the AI industry is going to go to, because they're going to see blockchain as a solution to many of their consumer problems right now. So let's talk into security. Really what I want to get to is talking about a solution for scaling AI on blockchain that is both scalable and secure. And in particular, probably more applicable to this audience, is having it so that you don't have to rebuild your application on another chain to take advantage of these, right? So you can let your application live on the chain it lives on today, but still take advantage of some AI capabilities, to expand your product offering. The question, though, it comes to where and how are your private keys stored? I mean, that's the fundamental question of crypto in general. That's the fundamental question of security. There have been a lot of interesting projects that are approaching this, which is great, because in a free market, you want a lot of different opportunities, and then you want the market to basically decide what the winner is. I know I'm particularly interested in a project called AIBTC.dev. So if any of you guys are associated with that project, I'll give you a little hat tip. However, with the Internet Computer, I'm here to represent the Internet Computer, and we believe that the actual solution to this problem is by moving AI off of Web 2 tech stacks and moving it directly onto a blockchain tech stack. If that sounds absurd, because AI is compute heavy, and blockchain typically doesn't handle compute as much, let me just say it's not only not absurd, it's actually happening. It's been happening for over a year now, and the pace in which it's happening is speeding up really quickly. Let me give you some history. So the Internet Computer, if you're not familiar, is easiest understood as a decentralized cloud hosting. We kind of see ourselves more competition with like AWS and Google Cloud than we do any other blockchain. We kind of see our role in this industry as being providing additional functionality to other blockchains. And so with that in mind, actually, the Internet Computer was in a great position as LLMs took off early last year. It was in a great position to kind of take advantage of that. You have, this all kicked off last year. There's a developer who goes by ICPP Pro in the developer forums, posted a GitHub repo where he or she said they had an inference engine running Llama 2C. I believe it was a 15 million parameter model. But that it was running fully on a smart contract on the Internet Computer. And that kind of opened up everyone's eyes of like, wait, hold on one second. AI on the Internet Computer, this is actually a thing. So then you had a couple more months where people were doing more mess around, find out. And then finally, early this spring, you have now consumer applications that are launching. So Elna DAO is Elna is a DAO on the Internet Computer that started exploring doing AI agent bots and a platform for development of AI agents. They launched in March. Dfinity, the foundation I work for, demoed an image classification model fully on chain. Then moving into April, you had Connect DAO, another DAO on the Internet Computer that launched a product for a vector database completely on chain. So you can actually store an entire vector database fully on chain in a smart contract. They actually just a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, announced that they achieved a 100 million data point vector database on chain, taking 70 gigabytes. So 70 gigabytes of data stored completely on chain. Decide AI launched a AI-powered content moderation tool that is fully on chain. And then this year or this month, it's just kind of speeding up really quickly. We had a developer in the forum again announce that they achieved a Llama 3 8 billion parameter model fully on chain. So just to kind of recap, in August, the leading model was a 15 million parameter model. Now we've got people posting 8 billion parameters. Just to kind of level set, right, they also were very honest about the cost of the inference engine was probably 10,000x what it would have been on a Web 2 tech stack, so there's a lot of optimization there. They said latency was also kind of an issue. But my point is that it's not a question of is it possible to run AI on chain. It is actually proven out already, and we're now at a point where it's about optimization. And then finally, Dfinity had a demo for facial recognition that was fully on chain, and we announced some major performance specs just a few weeks ago. Just think about facial recognition, how much of a concern that is for privacy and for tamperness, right? As facial recognition is used more and more in society, that is going to be a honeypot of activity for hackers who want to do whatever they can that interrupts the industry. And so moving it on-chain introduces that tamper-proofness and the privacy that you can have by hosting something on the internet computer. Let's see, so I talked about the specs. Let's just go real quickly into how those AI-related specs are today. A smart contract on the internet computer, we call them canisters. I'll just say smart contracts because that's the terminology most people are familiar with. But it can hold 400 gigabytes today. Our goal is to get to 2 terabytes. So when I say ConnectDAO had a 70 gigabyte vector database living on chain, that's because you can hold up to 400 gigabytes. One of the interesting things, this is not AI related, but it's a Bitcoin conference, so I'll just also point out the Bitcoin state today is 600 gigabytes. So as we progress to the 2 terabytes over the next, let's say year and a half, we're going to pass a point in which you can actually just hold the entire state of Bitcoin in a smart contract on ICP. When that happens, obviously, then anyone can launch a decentralized indexer. They can launch Bitcoin data availability products that they want. So that's going to be a really cool Bitcoin. For inference engines running on-chain is the heap memory. We're at 4 gigabytes right now. We're aiming to get to 8 gigabytes. A lot of that's going to come through an upgrade to our WASM environment from 32-bit to 64-bit. I will point out HTTPS outcalls are supported on the internet computer. You can natively use Web 2 API from a smart contract without the use of an oracle. So if you wanted to build a Web 2.5 AI product, it's perfectly feasible. And you do see some really interesting applications where they're using like ChatGPT plugins supported from a smart contract. And then the creme de la creme is GPU subnets, right? Right now, everything's a CPU subnet. If we can get to a GPU subnet, basically what that would unlock is that latency, the token cost would be much more optimized. But more importantly, right now you can do data. So I always think of AI as 4 things, 4 components. You have data, you have training, you have the inference engine, and then you have the UI, or the prompt IO. Right now you can do data on-chain, up to 400 gigabytes. You can't do training. You can do inference engines to perhaps in a limited state, but then, and then user interface, you can host on the internet computer, you can host an entire user interface. So we've got data, user interface, and a limited inference engine. The missing piece is training. If we could get to a GPU subnet now, at that point you have full decentralization, permissionless development and deployment of AI. And that actually is just the end goal that we're trying to aim for. But now I made a statement that, so this is how we believe you actually run AI securely. But I made a statement that this should be able to communicate with different blockchains like Bitcoin and really any other blockchain that maybe you've already built your application on. And that comes into a different tech stack. So how do we make sure you can communicate with the other blockchains? How am I going to back up this claim? And that comes to a different tech stack that we branded as Chain Fusion. It's really a collection of technologies that are available to developers on the internet computer that allow them to read and write to various blockchains. Right now, we're up to 23 I believe, chains that we can read and write to. Probably the highlights of them is Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously being the number 1 and number 2 coins. Bitcoin integration is actually a very interesting integration that we pioneered. It's a native integration it's a direct native integration into Bitcoin. So a smart contract on ICP can actually sign transactions to the Bitcoin L1. That's done through what we call threshold ECDSA. We've also referred to it as chain key technology, if you're familiar with that. But it's basically just taking a private key, sharding it across the entire network of nodes, and then having a smart contract be able to reassemble that private key so that whoever controls that smart contract controls that Bitcoin wallet. So there's a whole host of native integration tools that come with that. And then for Ethereum, we chose an RPC approach so that we could communicate with the mainnet, L2s, EVMs, as well as basically most blockchains that support RPC, including Stacks, if you've built your application on Stacks. We just announced today, I believe, although I haven't checked, that we have a test key support for threshold Schnorr signatures. So that unlocks Taproot assets, BRC20s, being able to sign transactions back to Bitcoin for BRC20s. That obviously can be expanded to like Solana, which has a Schnorr signature schema, which we plan to do later this year. And then it's basically trivial, right? So, well, I say trivial. I'm not the engineer, so it's easy for me to say trivial. But basically, the idea is that most blockchains should be supported by this technology so that if you're a developer, you can read and write from an ICP contract to any other blockchain. What that also means, the flip side of that is if you've already deployed your application to, let's say, any Bitcoin L2 or an Ethereum L2, and you want to take advantage of AI capabilities on ICP, it does not require you to rebuild your entire tech stack on ICP. That's not what we're going for. We're not trying to move all applications to ICP. We're trying to basically provide a layer of functionality to your app where it already lives. So what you could do then is leverage Chain Fusion technology to host your AI on ICP, let your application live on the chain it currently lives on, but then just have the two communicate back and forth. Also, I'll say if you haven't built your application on a stack, what it does do is opens you up to where you can pick and choose the blockchain you want to build on, knowing that you can always leverage ICP for the features that you're not getting from the blockchain that you've chosen on. Really what I'm passionate about is the idea that as an industry, we need to get good at building really good products. That's how we expand beyond from crypto to the general mass market. And so part of that is having entrepreneurs who have a vision and don't have to sacrifice their vision based on the technology of a specific tech stack, having to make those trade-offs. So as a developer, as an entrepreneur, you should be able to sit down, look at the various blockchains across the landscape, choose the one that helps you build the product you actually want to build, and then you can leverage Chain Fusion for any features that you don't get as natively as part of that blockchain tech stack. So let me just summarize. Chain Fusion plus AI. It's all about extending AI capabilities to most chains without the need to restack your application. Again, our vision really is end-to-end deployment and development of AI. We believe that that actually provides the most permissionless way, the methodology with the least amount of trust assumptions versus like a Web 2 deployment. Yeah, and so I'll leave it at that. I think I was a little bit late in adding a specific slide for Chain Fusion. We are having Chain Fusion Day tomorrow. We'll be joined with a lot of our colleagues from across the Bitcoin L2 space to talk Chain Fusion as well as just what we're seeing in the Bitcoin L2 landscape. We'll be having that. I tried to get the slide in here, but I was a little too late, I guess. We'll be having that. You can just Google search Chain Fusion Day Nashville, and you'll find the Luma. Sign up and join us there. And if you have any questions, I'll be floating around for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Right now. Thanks, Scott.